if they show no symptoms. Either way, the European Union says countries that do want to help better act fast because an additional 40,000 staff members are desperately needed. Meantime, the threat of a lawsuit seemed to work for the nurse who was forced into hospital confinement in New Jersey. While authorities allowed Casey Hickox to leave the hospital, she'll still have to finish out her 21-day Ebola quarantine at home.
British Prime Minister David Cameron was bundled into his official car by his bodyguards Monday after a member of the public ran into him. Cameron was leaving an event in the city of Leeds at the time of the incident. Amateur video shows what looks like a serious security breach. Police say they briefly arrested a 28-year-old local man. The Metropolitan Police Unit responsible for Cameron's protection says it will conduct a review of the incident. A spokesman for Cameron says he has confidence in his protection team. Dean Balboa Farley, the man who apparently ran into the Prime Minister, posted on Facebook that the incident was simply a case of brushing into someone while running.
Palestinians are condemning a move by the Israeli government to fast-track planning for 1,000 settler homes in East Jerusalem. As James Aiken reports, the decision is also raising questions about Israel's commitment to a negotiated peace plan with the Palestinians.
The pledge by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to keep planning new homes in East Jerusalem comes despite stiff international criticism and rising tensions between Jews and Arabs in the city. East Jerusalem is home to the city's most sensitive Jewish, Christian, and Muslim holy sites. Israel claims the entire city as its capital, but Palestinians want East Jerusalem as their future capital. Netanyahu's announcement actually sidesteps demands by ultra-nationalists who are threatening to sever ties with him unless he agrees to call for 2,000 new building tenders. Outraged Palestinian leaders say the move is illegitimate. They're calling on the international community to demand that Israel stop all illegal settlement activities in East Jerusalem and elsewhere. Jordan is requesting an emergency UN Security Council meeting, claiming Netanyahu is dangerously escalating tensions.
All such acts are incompatible with international law and international humanitarian law, and if allowed to continue, will ultimately imperil the treaty.
And within Israel, the plan is drawing criticism not only from anti-settlement activists, but also from within the government.
At this time, when the diplomatic process is stalled and we need to rebuild our relations with the United States, this plan will be opposed by Yesh Atid, and we will work to prevent it.
Not only is the government destroying a possibility of a future Palestinian state, it is also creating this own entity just for the settlements in the same territory where the Palestinians live.
For months, violence has been increasing in East Jerusalem and other areas in the West Bank. On Sunday, 2 news photographers suffered minor injuries when they were struck by rubber bullets in a West Bank town fired at close range by an Israeli border police officer. James Aiken, TVB News.
Toronto voters have replaced their notorious mayor Rob Ford and rejected by his brother to take up the city's top job. John Tory, a moderate conservative, fought off a strong challenge by the former mayor's brother, Doug Ford, in a closer than expected race. Tory won about 40% of the vote, ahead of Doug Ford's 33%. But Rob Ford, who made global headlines last year when he admitted to using crack cocaine while in office, was easily elected to City Council to represent a West Toronto ward. Rob Ford withdrew from the mayor's race in September after being diagnosed with cancer. His brother took his place on the mayoral ballot and Rob ran for City Council instead. Sources say Liberal Party lawmaker James Tien will be stripped of his membership on the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. This comes after Tien openly called for Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying to consider resigning. Sources say the CPPCC Standing Committee, which is meeting in Beijing, will vote tomorrow on a proposal to strip Tien of his position in the political advisory body.
The number of complaints against public light bus services was up 20% in the first half of this year from the previous quarter. Other complaints, such as drivers smoking and using cell phones while driving, rose by as much as 700%. Stephanie Choi has more.
Many complaints were targeted at green minibus drivers who would only let passengers aboard or alight at minibus stops, not at other places. In response, the Transport Department said fixed-route public light bus drivers are obligated to let passengers board and alight in unrestricted areas under regular traffic conditions. It added that the purpose of minibus stops is to convenience passengers. The department said it will contact relevant minibus operators to ask that their drivers act according to regulations. A representative from the minibus industry said most drivers would allow passengers board and alight when conditions permit. But he pointed out that this regulation, which is included in the contract minibus operators sign with the government, is unfair. He explained that some passengers insist on flagging down minibuses a short distance away from minibus stops, which inconveniences drivers who are more particular about where they pull over. In the first half of this year, the Transport Advisory Committee received more than 950 complaints and suggestions regarding public light bus services. That's up about 20% from the previous quarter. Drivers smoking, drivers using cell phones while driving, passenger overload, and dirty vehicles are among the complaints with the greatest increases from the previous quarter. The total number of transportation-related complaints the Transport Advisory Committee received in the second quarter of 2014 was up 8.5% compared with the previous quarter. Relevant government departments and organizations are following up on those complaints. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
All right, Chris, I understand Jameson has a cool story for us today.
Yeah, he likes following the Pac-Man. Boxer Manny Pacquiao back training in the Philippines for his next fight. That is, fight next month, I should say, in Macau. And the Pac-Man took a break to visit Hong Kong, and our Jameson Wong tagged along with the champion.
You'll never hear Manny complain.